What's up, guys? And today I would like to do it short, but I would like to explain the concept that there is no thingy as one is smarter than the other. There's no such a thing of one being smart or smarter. I cannot mm, see it that way. It can be seen in the way that one is more aware than the other. But there's no such a thing of one being smarter than you, and there's you cannot even compare smartness due to the fact that a person can be seen for his smartness in on different type of scales. He can be smart uh, in books, he can be smart in writing, he can be smart in FL Studio, he can be smart even like in FL Studio. Okay, I will get to that. Be smart in FL Studio, be smart in like languages, be smart in this and that and that. You see, but if you'll compare it to people who are smart, but they are smart in the different type of fields that they're into, you cannot say one will be smarter than the other due to the fact that they invested themselves into different things. And yeah, he may be smart in his own niche that he studies or he was into or he was learning and shit like that, but that doesn't mean that he's more stupider, I don't know, than the other guy who was also investing the same way, but just into different type of fields, right? So basically you can just say that the person can be more aware than the other, and this already kind of plays even like the word itself. When one will say that one is smarter than the other, it kind of sounds very disrespectful, for the person who is not smarter than the other one. But if you will say that I'm more aware than you, it's like, okay, that's not your fault that the other person is more aware than you. Maybe just like his life journey, and the different outcomes that he was going through, and like the path itself accumulated and kind of forced him to be more knowledgeable and be more aware of different things, which makes him more broader than you. So that would be, for example, let's say, that kind of, I think that more goes into like street knowledge, not only street knowledge, but like, okay, you cannot say knowledge, it's just like awareness in general. So for example, even the guy who will read books, he can be more aware than the guy who actually traveled to different places, because the guy in the books, he was like reading different type of perspectives, right? He was reading about different type of characters with different characteristics. He was reading about different type of places with different type of descriptions, right? So due to the fact that he was getting all this information, that it was making him more and more aware of different things. He was now aware that there's like people with depression not only in USA but also in Africa and shit like that. But the guy who was traveling, he maybe doesn't know that. But I mean, like, it's a bad example, but you can see it from those type of in those kind of things too, that one is just you get different type of information, different type of knowledge when you go out or you just live your life, and it just makes you broader. For example, it makes you more expanded, it makes you more knowledgeable and aware of different things. Now, for example, let's say you can cook your pasta in variety of different ways because you were just sitting there and trying to mix it this with that and this with that and this with that, and you just saw the outcomes, how it was going out. You saw that, for example, okay, it's not always good to mix this with this or this with that and shit like that, and due to the fact you became more aware, you became more knowledgeable about the thing is that how you can make pastas, right? And the guy who cooked only once, like one type of recipe of pasta that he saw on internet, maybe for him it will be more he'll be not as aware in pasta as the guy who actually was like trying to cook different things and shit like that, right? So yeah, so basically getting back to the point that there's no such a thing as one being smarter than the other or one being the smartest, because first of all, there's no such a scale that you can compare different people, because different people are on different type of like fields, and you cannot take a person from one field, like for example a PhD, and take a person from another field, let's say for example like how you call that, building buildings and stuff like that. I forgot the word for that shit. and you cannot take them both and say one is smarter than the other and shit like that. Okay, some people may say that, yeah, you can actually say one is smarter, but that's comparing on the scale that is out there, you know, that is already made for people to for the scale that is already made, put out for people to have it as a scale and compare different things. But you know, you have to have some type of equal scale which will put those two people on the same ground, and then from there you can compare it. You know, for example, let's say we take like, you know, this is actually the Libra thing where you have like Libra, you know, Libra scales, and now people are like balancing out a relationship, seventh house and shit like that, you know, that's everything Libra and shit like that. So for you to compare two people from different fields, you have to put them on one kind of scale. And for example, in this case of one being a PhD, like let's say in chemistry, and the other one being a master, a smith in building buildings, you know, because he invested a lot of his time into that routine, and due to the fact that he was going deeper, aka deeper in time, you know, like for example for 10 days, for 10 years, for 20 years and shit, and on and on and on. So with time he was getting more and more aware and more smarter in that kind of field, because he was kind of, even the routine itself makes you already you know, the longer you go deeper in your routine, the kind of more things you get. And that's the also the Virgo aspect, where you, for example, are at, you know, for example, you're doing one routine for like 3 days. On the fourth day you can be like, okay, now let me add this, you know. So you already kind of mixture different things, you add different things, you kind of play with different factors, and now you see what works, what doesn't work, and now you're getting more and more aware, right? So getting back to the scale and comparing two people, so we have a master, a smith from building buildings, and we have a PhD doctor from chemistry and shit like that, right? The universities, or I don't know, it doesn't matter. So we have, for us to compare them, we have to find some type of level, the same level that they will stand on. You know, I know that could be hours invested into work. Okay, so this, let's say he invested more hours into work, so he will be on this scale more smarter, right? Because he invested more time. Who gets more money, right? He gets more money and shit like that, right? So you have to have some type of topic which will be as a scale. You know, that could be the morality of a person. Who has a better morality? I mean, just okay, his morals are like this, and his morals are like that, like that. So his morals are more kind of. But even here, it's kind of problematic due to the fact that not always. The different morals can be actually beneficial in one's eyes, and others' eyes they could be negative. You know, so moral is also kind of hard to compare. But I would say, for example, let's say hours invested into one's work, right? So let's say the Smith guy who is building buildings, he invested more time into doing his work. So let's say he's more not aware, but he's more experienced, you know, in that he's more experienced than this guy. So here the equal scale, aka hours invested into work, are putting those two people on the same level. Not that they are on different levels and we're trying to compare two different things and we're like, oh, how to compare them. Yeah, I know. Let's take the average scale which is put out there for people. So we take the average scale, which is okay, the Saturn scale, which could be that, oh yeah, he's more beneficial to the society than this one. Okay, he's smarter, brunch, and shit like that. But we are taking the scale which we create ourselves, and now we can relate. You know, we saw what one person has, we saw what another person has. We found the balance between them, and we put them together on one field, on one scale for us to compare them, just like that, right? So that was the point, that we cannot compare people. We cannot say one is smarter because, first of all, there's no such a scale. which will show who is smarter, and the other one that you cannot actually say who is smarter, who is not smarter, due to the fact that different fields, different people, completely different thingies, completely different motivations and intentions were put into works for people to do it, you know, and you cannot compare that shit, to be honest. You can, as I said before, you can find the equal scale for you to compare them, but you cannot say one is smarter than the other, only if you're taking some type of filter on that scale, right? That which filters those individuals through for that scale, for them to appear on that scale, like in such a way and shit like that. Yeah. Second of all, I would say, as I said before, there's no such a thing of being smarter or like dumber. Maybe dumber, yes, I'm not sure, but not being smarter. You can only be more expanded and more wise, you know, due to the fact that depending on what you do, even you doing, let's say you're doing music, you're doing arts, you're doing like all the other creative stuff, you're also playing games, so you communicate with other people and shit like that. You may be smarter than the guy who was only invested into medicine and into PhD and shit like that, right? Due to the fact that you have more different things that you were expanded onto, and you were like, okay, here I gained this wisdom, here I gained this wisdom. So you had different fields which were kind of tied in, aka art or just having fun, I don't know. So you had different fields that you were kind of expanding into, and from those fields you gain some type of knowledge. And due to the fact that it's not the same type of path of knowledge that you can take, but those are different paths. You're like, you know, you took a little insight of that, you took a little insight of that, you took a little insight of that, of that, of that. Now you, from those little insights, you get a bigger insight. Like, okay, this can be like here, there, this can be like here, there too, blah, blah. So you're now more broader and broader. But the guy who was only going the one line of education, of wisdom, of gaining knowledge and shit like that, he only was getting like everything what was on that path, you know, like, let's say. One of the examples. It can be seen in a variety of different ways, because it's like this verse is and endless, right? It can be even like butterfly effect, you know, even like one little step with left feet or right feet, or like in the wrong direction, or even like one breath can cause completely a new experience, and this which will make this guy who walks only on one path be way more broader and wiser in a moment, in an instant, than the guy who I was talking about, who plays games and does arts, right? So yeah, so you can see also, you can look at it from this point of view too. Then we're going on to what is actually being broader and more wiser, aka being more, why there is no such a thing of one being smarter, aka due to the fact that even if you take the PhD himself, he is smart in his field due to the fact that he was more invested into his field, right? He put more attention into it, he put more energy into it, he put more emotions and thoughts into it for him to gain it out and shit like that, in comparison to the other guy who was investing, let's say, maybe the same time, but he was not as invested as this guy. So that already plays a role who will get further, you know. So it's not about of you being smart, but it's about of you investing your time into something and routines, and due to the fact, you know, when you put some energy into something, you get some energy out of it. So here you have this little here and there relationship where you put some energy and you get it from it, and depending on how much you put water into that bucket, that much of water in the bucket you will have, Loki, you know. A simple allegory. But yeah, so for example, yeah, a PhD guy would be a guy who's just investing himself a lot into that thingy, and that's why he's smart into that. But the person who invested himself into like building buildings, the same hours, the same intent, the same intentions, the same energy, the same emotions, feelings, and the same patterns and all that, kind of the same model, but in another field, he also gonna be as smart as this guy, but like in another field, you know. So you cannot say, oh, he's smarter than this one. As I said before, you can say that, but you can say that on the average scale, which was already put for people to use, you know, not the scale that you created by yourself, but the scale that is out there for you to use and shit like that. But yeah, So yeah, there's no such a thing of one being smarter. You can only be more wise and more bothered. And as I said before, you're being more wise, more bothered due to the experiences that you go through and shit like that. So for example, and how you can put one and two together. So for example, you saw this happening in this country, you saw this happening in this country, and you see the third country, and you're like, you see the different things in the third country, and can you kind of put one and two together? Can you see the broader picture of maybe this third country taking the path of the second and the first country too, due to the things that happen in the country, but they may look a little bit different, and shit like that. So yeah, that also depends on you and shit like that. The different experiences that you gain and how you can put them all together for you to be more broader, and even without going into an experience already kind of predict that experience to some degree. You cannot predict all the experiences, but some of them you can peep a little game like, yeah, okay, I think that's going to be the same way as it was like a week ago, so I don't have to go with those people to that party. Yeah. And that's basically it. So there's no such a thing of you being smarter than the other guy. If you're trying to compare one another, then put some balancing scale, some scale that both of them will be standing on an equal length, on a same level. Then you can compare who's smarter and who's not. Then, as I said before, the concept of one being smarter, if there is one, is just one being more invested into something than the other, right? So he spent more time into that field, therefore he is smart in that field. The same way as I will be invested into making music or playing games, or like playing one specific game for 20 years, of course I'll be a profi in that game because I invested myself into it. But it will be the same way as a guy who invested himself for 20 years into medicine. He's also a profi in medicine, right? But we don't say he's a profi in medicine, we say he's smart or something like that. He's in medicine. He's smarter than the other guys in medicine or shit like that. But this guy is more profi in playing games than the other ones and shit like that. So it's the same shit. Yeah. So just being invested into thingies, that's what makes you smart. And what is being more aware and more broader is you just going to different thingies and you gain for it. So for example, a guy who travels, he'll be more expanded. One of the examples, he may be more aware and expanded into social life than the teacher of social studies or something like that. Just one of the examples, but even those examples can be true. So yeah, that's basically it for me. So have fun and go on your journeys with different things. Get more aware, get more broader, because you'll end up being in a more broader body, things like that. Mentally, physically, allegorically, metaphorically, and all other type of ways too.